Hey everybody, my name is Sean from OpenWeb, and today we're going to be discussing how to stylize text in CSS. Some introductory videos that you need to watch before this are learning kind of CSS and HTML. You need to kind of know the syntax and introduction to know what I'm talking about and follow correctly. And also check out our how to add text into HTML first, just so you kind of get a background on what these different tags are and how to use them. So today, during this video, I'm just going to be using the P tag, just simple tag selectors. I'm not going to be specifically using classes with each tag. However, it would work exactly the same way should you use classes or IDs. So one of the most basic things that you can change with your text is the font. There are, by default, not a whole lot of fonts on here. And I'm not really going to be going in depth on how to add extra fonts into your HTML in this tutorial. However, check out our Fun with Fonts video to kind of get an idea on how to add different fonts, which fonts to use, and etc., because that is a huge design aspect to your website. So right now I've selected our P tag. I'm going to make the font family cursive. And now just this P tag and every other P tag we should use will also be in cursive. This is defined by the font family attribute, and should you add this to the all attributes selector in CSS, this could apply to all of them. So next, let's move down to our H tag. Let's get some practice with font dash family colon. Let's do fantasy. That gives it a very bold look. This is not really commonly used in websites today, but brackets just kind of gives us the basic here. There are others, such as if you have Times New Roman on your computer, you can select Times New Roman and then comma. You'll use comma as what is called a backup font. So if one font doesn't load correctly or a computer doesn't have it, it'll always resort to a backup font. Now you want to make one of these fonts like your cursive, sans serif, fonts that every single web browser has in order for everyone to see your text. Otherwise, your website kind of looks a little lame. So this right here is in Times New Roman. Just looking at that. Another CSS attribute that you got to know when you're stylizing text is font size. Font size can either be described using pixels, so 64px, EMs, which are more of a scalable unit. To learn more about EMs, check out our using percents versus pixels video, where we kind of check out the different actual units of measurement, and PTs. All are fairly different, but they'll all change the size accordingly. So let's just leave that. Font size 2px. Next, we'll head down to our H2 for our next example. One attribute that I like to use, especially when on kind of a really sleek, modern-looking website, is the letter spacing. So if you're familiar with Illustrator or any other kind of printing software, letter spacing will change the leaning of the letters and the space in between them necessarily. So let's try 2px. So when we add letter spacing 2px, all the letters are spread out a little bit. If you're using all capital, this gives it a very kind of modern and sleek look to it, like this is our website, and it really brings kind of a futuristic feel to it. It's very cool, it's very modern, it's something that I personally use and I recommend. So we're just going to leave letter spacing 3px on that. Let's head down to our H3. So for our next one, we're just going to scroll through our brackets one here. Font kerning, you're really not going to use this unless you really know what you're doing. This is more of a basic tutorial. Font size, font variant, etc. Font weight. Font weight will kind of describe the boldness of your font and these go in increments of 100. So you can go to 100 and the font is very thin, not very defined, it doesn't really stick out a whole lot. 200, 300, 400. 600 is very bold. We go all the way up to 900, 1200, and then once it gets kind of past 2000, it really doesn't work. But if you're wanting to define bold versus kind of lighter text. If you really want something to stand out your website, like a specific name, phone number, etc., you're going to want to use font weight, and then probably something over 600. Also, within your text tags, you can also make your text italicized using I, and then closing off the text. So then your text is italicized. The same works for B. B will make it bold, which it's already bold, so it's kind of irrelevant. Emphasized, EM will also work the same way. And then U. U is an underline. So let's go back to H2 and kind of, I want to show you guys the next and probably last thing that you really need to know with stylizing text is text decoration. So right now I have a text decoration up here as U. You can also define them using CSS. I recommend doing an HTML a little bit more because it's easier to really see which is underlined and which is not. But so we're going to cancel out the text decoration we already have. Text decoration is primarily used on links to take out the purple and the underline that are placed there by default. So when I do text decoration none, that underline disappears. Color black. And now it just looks like normal text. You couldn't tell it was a link until you scrolled over it. I kind of go over this a little bit more in our how to link text in HTML video, but this is really the gist of it. If you're wanting to create a link that hovers over, that doesn't actually look like a link, doesn't have that purple 2000-ish effect, something you want to do. You could also use the hover state. So when text is hovered over, make it red. That's a pretty cool effect. I actually did an entire video on this effect. Check out a little bit more on our design and UX portion of this website, but these are the basics that you really need to know with stylizing text. Font family, font size, letter spacing is really an effect you don't use a whole lot. Font weight, text decoration, and color. You won't use background color for text, you will always use color, just the actual color, and then you'll either do as a hexadecimal, which I explained in a different video a little bit more how colors are defined. Background color, you don't use that. Or HTML has some very like the font colors, so you can that brackets the program I'm currently using lists for you. So HTML will also read fuchsia, but it won't read Chuck Norris. So that's all for stylizing text in HTML. This has been Sean from OpenWeb. Have a good day.